Hey, good morning. How's everyone doing? It's August 20th. It's already well on its way to being like 85 degrees. Gonna have a little refreshing beverage, but I wanted to share this lot I got of Pitt from Image Comics, later Full Bleed by Del Keown. And I'd always been a fan of this character. I don't know why I never really buckled down and tried to seek out especially the later books in the run. But I found a guy who had them. For the most part, I still have some work to do, but I definitely have enough where I could confidently start reading and really get a better handle on this character. Oddly enough, what kind of reminded me how much I like this character is for the longest time, maybe 3 years, I've been in the market for the Build-A-Figure of Pitt, which came out of the legendary heroes wave of figures. Like Ripclaw was in it, Madman, Witchblade, and so on, where you'd actually have to snap pieces of the character together to fully assemble Pitt, and Timmy, of course. I would always be looking for this Build-A-Figure, which is routinely $400, so I finally decided, hey, let's just go after the comics, which are a lot less expensive. Here's Pitt 1. This is from January 1993. Inside this book, there's a pinup by Sam Keith. Now, there's a great channel that I've been aware of for a long time, but for some odd reason I wasn't subscribed to it, and I kind of rediscovered the video. This gentleman from the Great North, Michael Jocko, he has an incredible Pitt run, and I recently rewatched his video. I think I commented like 4 years ago, but it's a great video. I'll put a link to the video in the description, and not only does he have a very nice collection, but he also has original art from both Del Keown from the Pitt ongoing series, and I think also the Pitt crew. He's got some Ken Lashley page. But most importantly, I think in issue 13, he has some original artwork he submitted, published in the book. The closest thing I ever had to anything like that in an Image comic, although I wrote Spawn several letters in the early 90s, but in an issue of the Max, I have not a letter, but Sam Keith was accepting people who wanted to send their address in to be published in the book to maybe make some pen pals, of which I did. You know, there was a lot of people around that time that wanted to talk about the Max, and I was definitely one of them. I think this was just after the Max MTV series. There's issue 2 of Pitt from July 1993. Now, Pitt was supposed to appear on the cartoon of the Max as he did in the book, but I think they substituted him with Mako from Savage Dragon. The interior of this is inked by Joe Rubinstein, and the cover inks are of Scott Williams. And at this point, he had a writer put on named Brian Houghton, helping him with those scripts. This is an awesome cover. This was, I think, a short-ordered issue at the time. It's from February of '94. Interior inks by Joe Rube again, and cover inks by Scott Williams. Issue 4. I think this might be one of the most printed issues. I don't know why. This is from April of '94. This is probably the issue I most commonly find. I believe Sapper might have scored me in issue 1, maybe. or in issue 9 at one point. So I'm going to have some extras in addition to this run I picked up. I'm going to have some additional issues. Here's issue 5, still from Image Comics, June of '94. Still got Brian Houghton helping with the scripts. And this is one of the covers that is crazy detailed. If you look at the depth accomplished with that sticky alien blood, or it's splattered in such a way for maximum effect. You know, people always talk about how hard it is to draw a hand, but that probably makes it 10 times more difficult that he had to follow the lines of the splatters. It's issue 6. I gotta fix that, actually. I have this down as a full bleed on my little label. This is still when it was from Image Comics from September of '94. And it's just kind of a funny thing. I put down Joe Chiato colored. Coming up with someone who's a worthy opponent for the Hulk. Coming up with someone who's a worthy opponent for the Pitt. For Pitt, you kind of end up coming up with different incarnations of either Pitt or Hulk, just so you know they can go toe to toe. So I haven't read this one in a long time, but it's basically who else is really going to go up against these juggernauts. Alright, except for maybe Juggernaut. Shout out to Taddy Comics. I know he likes Juggernaut a lot. December of '94, we have Pitt 7, Brian Houghton, again doing those scripting chores, helping Keown make the deadline. Here's 8 from September of '94. Alright, here's issue 9. I know Sapper got me this one. So at this point in August of '95, he had a writer named Steve Gerber helping him, and an inker named Mark Farmer. However, a lot of times instead of inker, they'll put down finisher, which I imagine means this guy is filling in a lot of the black spaces that Keown has already kind of outlined in ink, and he just sort of needs someone to help him meet the deadlines. Excuse me. By the way, Michael Jocko's channel is now called Cannabis and Comics. Comics spelled COMIX. So here we have Pitt 10 from January of '96. So this might be the first full bleed. I don't know if it had completely merged over. It might have been that Full Bleed was a subsidiary of Image in the same way as Top Cow, Mark Silvestri's Cyberforce line was under. And by the way, Pitt has a great appearance in Cyberforce 3, and he looks crazy cool on the cover. I think Ripclaw on his back, and Mark Silvestri drew a really nice Pitt. So that's issue 10. These are all really cool Keown covers. I don't know how he does that with the intersecting lines. I mean, so many people I've seen try to crosshatch like him, and they don't end up with the same depth, so he just has the touch. I made a note of mentioning that there's a Pit Crew CD ad on the back from May of '96. So we have Del Keown art and Dan Panosian inking now. I love Panosian stuff. So this is an interesting cover, and what's so cool about it is it's a dead ringer for issue 1, And I'm sure there's an evolution in the Pitt character, because one of the primary differences I see is that he doesn't seem to have lips anymore. So I'm really curious on issue 12 what change he undergoes, because that's I mean, I'm sure there's more to it than that, but his mouth is different, I'll tell you that much. So that's issue 12. Issue 13 is the one that Michael Giacco has the artwork in. I took a look at it, it's pretty cool. From 1997, in the month of March, Full Bleed. I believe Keown did all of this book, maybe even the coloring as well. A lot of times he'll have a colorist, and I guess Oleoptics, Steve Oliff was like not just a colorist, but he also specialized in color separations, which I'm pretty sure is a computer process where they would actually digitally go in there and blend a little further. It's actually kind of a dated process, I take it, because in Pitt, I think they might have recolored for some reprints, but definitely on the Max. I know when they did the Max Maximized at IDW, they underwent a process where they recolored the pages, which is kind of hard to imagine that the Oleoptics process had been, kind of rendered dated, but sure enough, those books were recolored. So I look at this coloring and I don't really see how it could become more modern. I mean, it's fantastic, but I don't know. I don't have the variant of this. Issue 14 is a variant that's really expensive. It's a book I first saw Freddy's 562 share, and it has Timmy. Basically, he looks like he's undergoing an X-ray, and you can see the skeleton inside of him. It's a really cool cover, but right now, like $60-$70 for a near mint copy, I can't swing. But here's a nice issue 14 from June of '97. He got a writer named Richard Pace, Pace, to help him start picking up the pace, I guess. But crazy cool Del Keown cover. These characters, they remind me of Miracle Dog from Miracle Man. So, I mean, you look at it, it's a cartoon, but if you imagine any kind of realism on these characters, they're just horrifying. I would take no comfort in these stooges at all. So, here's a great cover. 15 from September of '97. We have Full Bleed, so with art by Del Keown and Richard Pace. Sorry, I have to do a little editing. Sometimes it's easier to just go over these with a Sharpie rather than to print out a new label. So I did a little touch up. So I was actually surprised that there's so many of these logos that have the American flag motif. This is 16. Art by Keown, written by Richard Pace. Very cool. I think this was all part of the same mini-series, or what would you call it? Same story plot called Ugly Americans. So here's 16. For whatever reason, the seller didn't have 17, but it's kind of track downable. It's like $20, but I don't really want to buy one book for $20 right now and $5 shipping. It's just, but if if I find that book in the wild, I would pay that. I don't want to do the shipping and have the whole ordeal of waiting for it to arrive. So I'm on the lookout for an issue 17 though. I want to get some of these, in the wild. But here's 18 from June of '98. Still with the same creative team of Del Keown and Richard Pace. This is really starting to look like its own book. As far as the full bleed era goes. This doesn't really remind me that much of an Image comic at this point. So that's cool. It's like 85. Can't keep my arms dry. Record-breaking heat in this month of August we're having. Alright, so Pitt 19 from October of '98. Del Keown, Richard Pace, and the final issue of the ongoing Pitt run came out. Let's see, that was October of '98 for 19. So, October of '98 to February of '99. So, talking upward of 14 months or something, maybe a little bit longer depending on the exact date. But Pitt 20, last issue of Pitt solo series. So I'm really happy to have this one. I'm glad I don't have to go through the trouble of tracking down the last issue. So, wow. I feel bad for the people who had to wait that long. A lot of people, 1 year when you're a kid, that can make the difference between collecting comics and loving them, living for them, going to your comic store, to being more into Little League, being more into chasing skirts, being more into really anything, video games. So it's amazing. I take it that this series might have been kind of intended for an older audience, that maybe teen kids that have found themselves a little bit more and are more inclined to have still been reading Pitt. But that's quite a while to wait. I know I could barely bear it to wait like 4 months for a Kickstarter. So anyway, here's Pitt 1/2 from December of '95. It's got a reprint of a story on Youngblood 4, Pitt 1/2. Surprisingly, it doesn't have anything to do with Wizard. Full bleed comic, and everything by Keown. So I always love that, man. This one I was really glad was in the collection, because Keown's Incredible Hulk, man, it's hard to beat. But here's Hulk Pitt from December of '96. We have Panosian on inks again, and no mention whatsoever of full bleed. This, as far as copyright and registration, completely is legalized as a Marvel comic. Nice square bound. I don't know why. I guess they said, well, for whatever reason, that they didn't want to share it. I also need the Darkness Pitt crossover. Darkness, written by Garth Ennis and I think drawn by Silvestri, but crossover with Pitt is all Keown. 3 books, and those are expensive. And they're also from the era of variants, so I think there's multiple covers. So, don't have those. I do have one of the ash cans. On the back of this, there's an ad for several ash cans of the first 3 or 4 books, but this is a supplement from Hero magazine, and it's called the Premiere Edition. Again, inks by Joe Rubenstein, cover inks by Scott Williams, and it's an 18-page story. So it's folded in half. It's like folded in half, 8.5 by 11. So I think it's a 10 sheet. Okay, so Pit Crew. Pit Crew runs 5 books, of which I have 3. I didn't know that. I thought it was a 3-issue miniseries, but it's a 5. So I got a couple more of those to find. Keown's signature always kind of reminded me of the dead Kennedy's logo, but I'm sure he was always well aware of that. But Pit Crew 1 from August of '98, 5-issue mini, Richard Pace, art Ken Lashley, and we get Keown on the covers, so that's cool. That's issue 1. Issue 2 is from November of '98. Ken Lashley again on the interiors. I believe he inked over his own pencils, working with the Richard Pace script and a Dale Keown cover. November of '98. I was not collecting comics this time. I was way more into staying up all night, listening to Radiohead with my black light. And you know it goes with a black light. And god damn, I think I might have even been smoking cigarettes too at the time, which was a short-lived habit, but I remember walking into the park. When the PlayStation 1 came out, it just kind of messed me up for so long because I hated that console so much that I kind of derailed for a while. Here's Pit Crew 3 from August of '98. I remember getting Ghost in the Shell, Abe's Odyssey, and what other game I might have gotten, and just being so disillusioned, just hating, oh yeah, Tomb Raider, the cubistic style so much that I couldn't figure out what was wrong with me, because I always loved video games so much, you know. I had a Super Nintendo, a Genesis, and I loved that stuff. And then the crappiest system of all time, PlayStation 1, just pure garbage. And I've been told the reason I don't like that system was because I had the wrong games. No, that that console was crap. I'd be a different person today if that was a great console. I'm sorry if you love it, but that console was some BS. I couldn't believe it. I got that one year for Christmas. God. I wound up using it as a CD player because I remember I could at least play CDs in it. And I'd have a display on my TV, but bad stuff. Bad time for me. But that's why I, would have probably still been reading Pitt. If you're into video games, you're more inclined to still read comics. But I derailed. August '96. I mean, there was just no reason for PlayStation 1 to suck that bad. August '96. This is the one-shot special, Pitt in the Blood. Richard Pace and cover by Dale Keown. I gotta fix that. I have Richard Pace down as the penciler. That's all wrong. But yeah, this was from '96, so this came out when the run was still alive and well. You know what? I think Richard Pace did do the pencils. I kind of forgot he was actually plotting it and drawing it. Alright, last two things. We're just kind of throw-ins. Pit 7. The Max 7 and the Max 8. Max 7 from March of '94. That was a good year. That was the year Pulp Fiction came out. Art by Sam Keith, dialogue by Bill Messner Loebs, and finishes by Jim Sinclair. And issue 8. Also, art by Sam Keith, dialogue by Bill Messner Loebs, and finishes by Sinclair from May of '94. So, yeah, I got a little work in finding the rest of those pits. Sorry for the long video. That was a good Dos Equis, though. I needed that. I already sweated out, but man, it was good going down. Anyway, have a great day. Let me know what you think of Pitt. I'm definitely going to read these and finally really know what the story is, because the covers, they really make you curious. So anyway, after 30 years of that book being out, more or less, I'm really looking forward to digging in. Anyway, thanks for watching and have a great day. Bye. Stay cool.